welcome back to another episode of All in All with Alex podcast. I'm your host, of course, Alex. Today, we are here with a very special guest, Mr. Victor.
Hey, how you doing now? It's great to be here.
Hey, yeah, good to have you. Good to have you. Now, your last name is it Dedaj?
Yes, it is. Perfect.
Hey, I think I'm 2 for 2 today on pronunciations of people names, so I think I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so first of all, I want to tell you I appreciate you taking the time out to come on the podcast today.
Oh, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Yeah, no problem, no problem, no problem. So we're gonna jump straight into it. So can you give the people a quick background about yourself before we get started?
Yeah, sure. I was in the corporate world for a bunch of years, probably almost 2 decades, and I left about 10 years ago. Became an entrepreneur, and over the last several years, in addition to doing entrepreneurial stuff, I've been become a certified holistic health coach. So my passion right now is health and wellness and helping people live a healthier life and just being healthy and avoiding being sick.
Okay. So is that basically the definition of a holistic health coach? Because I know a lot of people may hear the term, but they don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah, a holistic health coach, basically, we look at the whole person. A lot of times when you go to a doctor, they might look at one part of your body, your kidneys, your liver, your heart. We look at the whole person, but it's not just that. In addition to that, we'll look at the emotional aspects, the social aspects, psychological, spiritual. So we look at the whole person because we think that all of those things are interrelated. Because if some of those things are out of whack, you could have health issues. So we try to
Mm.
work on getting all that working together. But yeah, we try to look at the whole person.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Like because I definitely agree with what you said about everything working together because, if you're let's say you're in an argument with your significant other and you get ready to go to work, now your rest of your day is not going to be the same because
Hmm.
you're thinking about the argument you guys had and now your day is just, way different than it would have been had you not had the argument. So
No, totally agree. Yeah, yeah, that's going to mess up your entire day. You're not going to function as well at work. You won't be as productive, and it can take a toll on you. And if you're going through a stressful time, whether it's your marriage or at work, that can easily affect your health, for example.
yep, I agree. So what inspired you to become a certified holistic health coach?
Oh, for many years I've been interested in becoming healthy because I realized for many years I was not healthy and I didn't have a healthy lifestyle. And I noticed a lot of people around me getting sick and not living a healthy life. So I realized, what can I do about it? So I started reading up on this stuff, watching a lot of
Mhm.
videos, and changing the way I eat, exercising more, supplementing with vitamins, minerals, and stuff like that. And I realized as I did that over the course of time, I started becoming healthier enough that I wasn't getting sick as much. One problem I used to have a lot was I used to have a lot of problems with my teeth, like a lot of pain, root canals, cavities. They say there's a correlation between the healthier teeth and your overall health. And I would say I would agree because once I started changing my focus, I've not had any problems with pain in my teeth. I've not had to have any more root canals or cavities, and I don't feel any pain whatsoever. And that's probably been for the last maybe 15 years.
Mm, hmm. That's interesting. I never heard that term, but as far as being healthy, kind of starts with T. But that does make a lot of sense, when you think about it, because that's theoretically connected to your brain, and I mean your brain controls a lot of things as well. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
yeah, that does make sense. So I see you got a little bit of a background in finance and corporate work.
Hmm.
Did that kind of help you a little bit as far as your approach to being a holistic health coach?
Yeah, I was in the finance world for a lot of years. I learned to interact with a lot of different people, so I could definitely tell you I learned the importance of building relationships and friendships, and just the importance of just helping people out. Because I just learned when you help people out, it helps you in your career. It just everything just works for the best. So if you just focus on yourself, you won't get as far in the business world or in most industries. To be quite honest, and I can tell you, being an entrepreneur, you cannot succeed if you don't help people out. So I could definitely tell you, learning just to support other people, teammates, people above me, and also I learned giving them extra value because here's the thing. Sometimes they ask you to do stuff and you do it, but a lot of times they want you to do stuff they don't directly ask you for. So I've learned to over deliver and give more value. And when you do that, people really appreciate it. And you know what? Word of mouth is your best business. So you really take care of people, they're going to tell their friends. And if you don't take care of people, guess what? They're also going to tell their
Yeah,
friends.
that's right.
I-
That's right. That's right. I definitely agree with that. I mean, that word of mouth can make you or break you when it comes to your business, for sure. Really when it comes to anything in life. You know. So if you had to point out any key principles of being a holistic health coach, that's a mouthful. Holistic health coach. um, what would you say are the key principles of holistic health that guide your coaching and
yeah.
training?
Well, the first thing what I do is I have them fill out a health evaluation because I need to know where things are going right and where things are going, where they're lacking things. So, and it's usually four different areas: there's soft tissue, hard tissue, digestion, and blood sugar. Blood sugar, of course, is a big issue because a lot of people, have diabetes or pre-diabetic. Digestion issues, related to your stomach, your gut health, and a lot of people don't have good gut health. Hard tissues like the hard stuff, like your bones and your teeth, and soft tissue would be like your eyes, your skin, your organs, like your heart, your kidneys, and the liver. So those are the four main areas. So maybe some people their heart tissue is okay, the soft tissue is okay, but maybe they have high blood sugar issues. So then we focus on trying to improve that. So we look at all those different areas. So I need to have them fill it out, and then we could say, okay, you're lacking in this area, and we're going to work on doing this. I'm recommend doing this. We could recommend these products that we have, and that can help work, help you improve in those areas. And one thing I tell people is you need to, if you're going to work with me, you got to give me 9 days because a lot of times these problems have been happening for decades. And you can't expect these problems to disappear in 2 weeks. It'll take some time. So I ask people to give it at least 90 days, and if you see the results are getting there, maybe your score gets better, we continue. If you feel it's not getting better, then you don't have to continue. So it's really up to them. But the vast majority of the time, they see improvement, so they want to continue working with us.
Mm, okay, that's pretty interesting. So, in your time being a holistic health coach, do you like what are outside of diabetes? What are some other common imbalances or issues that you see people struggling with?
Yeah. Well, I would just say that diabetes is huge, and I'll get to the other issues in a second because it affects so many other areas. It affects your kidneys, it affects your liver, it can affect your heart. It can actually lead to heart disease long term as well as cancer. So it affects a lot of different. It's actually the major cause of amputations. It's the major cause of blindness. So people don't realize how much it affects things. So a big part of there are two main things, two main problems you have. Number one, their diet, and number two, they're vitamin mineral deficient. And the big reason for that deficiency is because it's not in the soil, it's not in the food. And they've known this since 1936. A Senate report came out saying that the fruits and the vegetables, the crops were minerally deficient. And so it didn't have the amount of vitamins and minerals that they had, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And in the past 90 years, it's just gotten worse. So a lot of people think they might be eating healthy, they might, eating less processed foods, eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, and they think everything's okay. But even if you eat healthy, even if you eat all organic foods, if you don't supplement, you're going to be vitamin and mineral deficient because it's just not in all of them right now. You just can't do it anymore. So you do need to supplement, and there's some people do, but a lot of people don't. So a lot of people are deficient in certain vitamins and minerals, and that causes a lot of issues, a lot of health issues. And the other thing is having a bad diet. A lot of people eat a lot of processed foods, ultra processed foods, uh, oil, seed oil, so like vegetable oil, seed oils like corn oil, uh,
Mhm.
canola oil, sunflower, all those things, they're really bad. They're really poison. They cause a lot of issues. They're very inflammatory. They can lead to a lot of these diseases I mentioned before, like heart disease and diabetes.
So, what a lot of people fry food with, basically.
Fried foods, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're frying foods and a lot. They're using a lot of those oils, and unfortunately, those oils are really bad for your health. So you need to limit the amount of those oils. So what I recommend is if you use either lard, um, olive oil is okay, but you gotta use it at a smaller temperature because if after a certain point, I forget the temperature, but if it goes above a certain temperature, it could change into trans fats, which are really bad for your health.
Mm.
Avocado is good to use, and coconut oil. And you can also use butter. But the other oils I mentioned, the vegetable oil, all those seed oils, canola oil, corn oil, those are all really bad. I would just say stay away from them. Yeah, and try to limit your fried foods. It's really bad. Lots of sugar is really bad for you, particularly fructose. Now, glucose is not good for you, but it can at least be metabolized by various organs in your body. Fructose can only be metabolized by your liver. And if you have too much fructose, which is what most people have, because fructose is all over the place,
Mm.
like soda, so many things have high fructose corn syrup. So if you have too much fructose, it overwhelms your liver. And what a lot of people have is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That used to be only with alcoholics, but now because so many people have high amounts of fructose in their diet, they have fatty liver disease. And if it's left unchecked, it's the leading cause of liver transplants. You have to get a new liver. So you really have to watch out how much fructose you're eating.
Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. So, how can someone determine if they need to take like a more holistic approach to their health and well being?
Well, I recommend most people do it on their own, but they can always reach out to us, and we can have a free health evaluation done, and they can once they get the results, we can determine when they need to work on it. So a lot of times, a lot of people are unaware of how bad their health is. Uh, there are people, I mean, there are people in their 20s getting cancer, which was unheard of like 20, 30 years ago. I mean, cancer was, 30 years ago was thought of as an old person disease, but a lot of people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s are getting it now, whereas before it was like 50s, 60s, and 70s. So you'd be surprised because again, there's a lot of these poisons in the food there. They weren't so common 50, 60 years ago, but now they're like all over the place. And frankly, the processed and ultra processed foods, that's probably 75, 80% of food you find in most supermarkets. It's really hard to avoid. So you got to be really careful
Mm.
when you shop and read the ingredients. One thing, I've mentioned, those foods to avoid. Another thing is, if look at the ingredients. If you have trouble pronouncing the ingredients, you probably shouldn't eat it because if it's like 27 syllables and you have trouble pronouncing it, it's probably man-made. It's probably not good for you. I'll give
Mm.
you another food. People be surprised that is unhealthy, and that is the modern wheat. Modern wheat actually raises your blood sugar more than table sugar does. It
Wow.
will spike up your blood sugar. It has gluten, which can cause a bunch of health issues, and the modern wheat also has led to a huge increase in celiac disease, which people are allergic to this wheat. So it definitely has a bunch of issues. It leads to irritable bowel syndrome. The traditional wheat, which you would see on shows, the Little House on the Prairie with those big stalks, they start making those about 6 years ago. So it's not commonly used now. So the modern wheat, which is like 98, 99% of the wheat that's used, it's causing a lot of issue, and it leads to weight gain. There's a great book out by Dr. William Davis that came out about 13 years ago. It's called Wheat Belly, and people who eat a lot of wheat tend to put on more weight. So, and
Mm.
once they get off the wheat, or at least they limit the wheat, they find that they start losing the weight. So, and it also causes issues in your brain. Gluten can definitely cause issues with the mental facilities. Heavy consumption of wheat. So yeah, a lot of people are not aware of that.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know. But that's good to know now. I mean, one thing that you know, I, when you're growing up and you're young, you don't really more so focus on health because you're like, you still young, you just eat whatever or whatever. But me, as I cross the 30-year old mark, start realizing certain things like, man, I really need to, do better with my eating and maybe do a little bit more working out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, health is everything. You don't have health, you don't have a life. You know what I mean? You don't get a chance to see your kids grow older and all that, what I'm saying, as far as being here on earth. So health is definitely very important. So what are some of like the core lifestyle factors that you feel like impact holistic health the most?
Again, the lifestyle things that people should do. Number one, Get enough sleep. Sleep is extremely important for your health. Your body needs to recover. It gets a lot of toxic proteins, and they've done studies. People who get enough sleep, like 8 hours, um, not only do they live longer, they tend to get less of the more dangerous diseases like cancer. Um, but they're also more productive work. Like I was in the corporate world, and I can tell you they did not want you to get a lot of sleep. They wanted you to get little sleep, get up early, get to work at 7:30. Drink lots of coffee and work late. But the truth is, the people who actually get more sleep are actually far more productive and get more things done than the people who only get 5 or 6 hours of sleep. So a minimum, I would say for adults, the minimum amount they should get is at least 7 hours, preferably eight. For a for teenagers, they should get at least 9, and for young children, it's like 10 or 11 hours. They really need the sleep because it also helps them grow. And they've done studies, like a couple of areas in the U.S. where they where kid the when school the school start time was changed. They moved it back a half hour, an hour in a couple different places. They found out kids got into 16, 17, 18-year-old kids got into fewer car accidents because they were getting up later. They were getting more sleep. Whereas before, when the school start time was earlier, they were getting into more car accidents, and that's what lack of sleep can do to you. So getting sleep is extremely important. Exercising is also very important, and there's a lot of benefits cardiovascular for your health, for your brain, and really does have a lot of it. One thing I would mention about exercising, people not aware of, when you're having a good workout, you're not just sweating, getting rid of the sweat and the toxins, but you are sweating out also vitamins and minerals. So after a really good workout, you should supplement, because if you don't supplement, you can become more vitamin and mineral deficient. And that can cause health issues. That's the one thing I would just remind people. I do recommend exercising, but make sure after a good workout you supplement to make to recoup those lost vitamins and minerals that you get. So a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people are starting to understand that now, but that's why sometimes you might hear the story: star high school quarterback in great shape drops dead, collapses, and they have no idea why. Chances are he was, he was exercising, working all the time, but he probably did not supplement, and he lost all those vitamins and minerals, and he was deficient. That's probably what killed him. So make sure
Okay.
you supplement after good work. So you're gonna work an hour on the treadmill, or you're gonna lift weights for an hour. Supplement after you're done. So that's one thing. And then also for exercise, if you want to use it to lose weight, the truth is, if you want to lose weight, exercise is only about 20% of the equation. 80% is diet. The type of food you eat is far more important than exercise, but exercising does help. Exercise while you're fasting. So don't exercise and eat. It's not going to help you much. So first thing in the morning is a great time to exercise because you haven't eaten for 8 hours. So exercise, and then you can eat after you're done. Or later on in the day, if you haven't eaten for 4 or 5 hours, then exercise, and then you can have your dinner, for example.
Mm.
So that's something to keep in mind. Again, the quality of the foods is very important. Limit the processed foods, the sugars, the seed oils, and preferably try to get, you can have some beef. Grass-fed beef definitely helps, for example.
Mhm.
um, Organic food, definitely helps. And butter over margarine. Butter is natural food. It's a good fat. Oh, that's the other thing. Fats are have been totally vilified, and there's no reason to do it. Fats do not make you fat. It's the carbs and the seed oils that make you fat. So people that eat, if you think about it, um, a rhinoceros, which is vegetarian, is a lot fatter than a lion, which is a carnivore. So don't worry about eating meat. It's totally fine. Eat meat, eat your meat. So you know, and it interesting, when animals kill other animals, you know what they eat? They don't eat the lean muscle mass. They eat the fat parts and the organ meats. That's actually where most of the nutrition and the health is. And a lot of
Mm.
people are not aware of that. Like organ meats are very healthy for you. That's what the animals eat. They leave the lean muscle mass for last, but that's what they eat. So don't worry about eating the fat part of the meat. So again, fats do not make you fat. And the other thing that a lot of people are not aware of this, they've been told this lie that cholesterols are causing all these issues. It's not the cholesterol. Again, it's the triglycerides, and the triglycerides part, that goes up because of the sugars, the fructose, and the seed oils. That's the thing that raises that causes the heart issue. It is not the cholesterol. In fact, cholesterol is needed for so many parts of your body. In fact, 80% of the cholesterol is actually made by your liver. So it's so important your body has to make it. It's a good chunk of your brain. And over the last 60 years, when they've been trying to get people to lower their cholesterol, uh, like statin drugs, they take it out of the brain. And what does that cause? An increase in dementia and Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's did not exist 100 years ago. A big cause is because of these cholesterol lowering drugs, because it takes it, and it especially takes it out of the brain, which is where a good chunk of the cholesterol is. Cholesterol is also needed to make the sex hormones. It's needed for estrogen and testosterone. So if it weren't for cholesterol, there would not be a human race. We
Yeah.
need cholesterol for so many different activities. So like, and what's called the LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, again, it's actually not the cholesterol. It's something called a lipoprotein, which carries the cholesterol. There's actually two types of LDL. There's one which is small and dense, and that is, that can cause issues with the heart, clotting stuff like. But there's another type of LDL which is large and fluffy, and that's actually totally harmless. So it's you can't look at totally LDL, because there's a part of it that's actually okay, and a part of it that is fine. So so you can't just call it the bad cholesterol. The cholesterol is a lot more complex than people make it out to be, and the HDL, of course, is good, but generally overall, you want cholesterol. So people vilify eggs because it has high cholesterol. But you know what? Eggs are one of the healthiest foods you can eat. They have a ton of nutrients, lots of vitamins and minerals, and and it helps you with the cholesterol. And you know what? The cholesterol in the eggs does actually change the amount of dietary cholesterol in your blood anyway. So what your body tends to do is you eat more cholesterol, it tends to make less. So it compensates for it. So if, for those who actually worry about your cholesterol, don't worry about it. Eat your eggs, get the benefits of it, and your cholesterol won't really change much anyway. And I would recommend for breakfast. Um, the one thing you lose when you're sleeping is like you lose a lot of protein. So I recommend, instead of eating cereal, which is a lot of carbs, eat protein. So like eggs or bacon, stuff like that, which is what people eat for centuries. Eggs are a good thing to eat for breakfast, and you know what? You'll feel more satisfied. And, when you eat a lot of eggs and protein, you tend to feel full. When you eat a lot of carbs, you tend to not feel full. You tend to eat more. So if you want to eat less,
That's
eat
true.
more fat and protein.
Hmm. That's interesting. You taught me a whole world of stuff that I didn't know. But of course, like I said, as you're young and you're growing, you just kind of you know eat whatever you're like. Oh, that looks good. I'm gonna try that, and what I'm saying. And you just kind of like going by with life because you're not really focusing on that. But then as you get older, you're like, man, I need to start taking care of my health. So you know what I mean. So I'm at that point in my life now where it's time for me to start doing better myself. So definitely, some of these things that you're mentioning, like as far as the breakfast and eating eggs and things like that, which I'm already an egg person anyway. I love eggs. So I'll just make sure I eat more of them now in the morning.
Mhm. That definitely, and you're right, because there's something called a compound effect. It's like when you're eating these bad foods, it doesn't affect your body immediately. It takes it, but a long term, these eating these bad foods, it piles up, it adds up. Yeah, when you first eat a Big Mac at McDonald's, you're not gonna have a heart attack. But if you eat a lot of Big Macs over the course of years, yeah, it can lead to high blood pressure, can lead to arteriosclerosis, heart disease, stuff like that. If eat a lot of them long term, eat a lot of junk food, it's not gonna happen, if you do it for a week or two, but long term, it compounds. That's what the compound effect is. Small changes lead to big changes, big results if done consistently over a long period of time. So like you said, I think like you said, when you get into your 30s and your 40s, you start feeling it more. It's like, I got to start watching things. And also, when you get into your 30s and 40s, your body starts making fewer things. So it makes less stomach acid, it makes less collagen. So you have to compensate by supplementing with those things. So unfortunately, that's a part of life. So you don't think about it, like you said, when you're 25. But as you get older, you start thinking about it. So, yeah, so there are supplements you could take to compensate for the fact your body's making less of these things.
Hmm, okay. Um. So speaking of those supplements, do you have like is there like a certain place people can go to get those supplements, or is it a certain food that they can just eat for those supplements? Or
Yeah, I mean, like when the company I work, we have a lot of those supplements, so people can always reach out to me. So they can afterwards there's a lot of them, and they could reach out. There's also stuff available online, like Amazon stuff like that. If you want to like check that out as well. So definitely look into that. I mean, one issue that people have, for example, when they start like in their mid to late 30s, is acid reflux, GERD, stuff like that. They have this acid coming, and a lot of people think it's because they have too much acid. It's actually the opposite problem. Your body starts making less stomach acid around the age of 35, and for a variety of reasons, you start feeling that acid when you eat food. So you actually need more stomach acid. So you should supplement with these things. So one good thing people could take, for example, is apple cider vinegar tablets. I take 4 tablets a day, and I get that acid in there. And if you take it, you will realize you won't feel that heartburn, that acid reflux. That's actually the main issue. You need more. Your body doesn't make more things as you get older; it makes less of it. So you actually need to get more acid. And when you start taking, so you could take some of these meds like omeprazole and stuff like that. Yes, you won't feel that heartburn, but the problem is it reduces the stomach acid, and you need the stomach acid to absorb the nutrients. And if you get less and less of that stomach acid, you can't absorb the nutrients. It can lead to a whole bunch of issues in your gut, like leaky gut syndrome and small intestinal bowel syndrome. Um,
Hmm.
and these are things that can lead to a whole bunch of other illnesses. So you want to make sure you have enough stomach acid to absorb all the nutrients as well as prevent these diseases. Your stomach really needs a stomach. So make sure you get enough. Again, when you're 20 years old, you really don't need to worry about that. But as you get to your late 30s and 40s, a lot of people start feeling this acid reflux. So my recommendation is take more acid. So like betaine, hydrochloric acid is good. And again, as I mentioned, apple cider vinegar tablets.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I've had any issues with acid reflux, but you know, now that I know, that's actually a pretty good idea. Especially like I said, I'll be 32 this year, so I'm getting close to that age. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
So I guess it's better to go ahead and start now and be prepared. Because
mhm.
I'm not gonna be making more acids as each day goes by. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Like whenever that day comes for you, whatever it is, I want you to know, just take the apple cider vinegar. So I don't want you taking like baking soda or take some of those meds that will reduce the stomach acid because it's just going to cause you more health issues. I want you to be healthier.
yeah, yeah, that's definitely the goal. That's definitely the goal. So, do you? So, how does stress affect um a person's health? Like, what ways have you seen stress affect people's health?
Yeah, I mean, stress just takes a toll on you. It just really makes you more vulnerable to a lot of diseases. It can raise your blood pressure. It leads to a whole bunch of. You just find when you get stressed out, you seem to be more vulnerable to a whole bunch of different diseases. There's a big relationship between your brain here and your gut health. They affect each other. A lot of people call the gut the second brain, and some of the diseases of the brain, a lot of doctors seem to think might originate in the gut. And so your stress will affect your gut and vice versa. So, your 70% of your immune system is actually in your gut. So if your gut health is affected, it causes all kinds of issues. And a lot of people don't realize this. Um, Antidepressants, they're focused on the wrong thing, which is the brain. The hormone that helps you feel better, or serotonin, 80 to 90% of it is actually made in your gut. Only 10 to 20% is made in your brain. So if your gut health is better, you're probably going to feel better. So if your gut health is out of whack, you're going to be more depressed. You can be more stressed out, and that can just lead to a whole bunch of illnesses. So they both affect each other. So being stressed out can play a role on your gut as well. And if your gut's messed up, it can affect your brain also. So they both affect each other.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I actually just heard that probably like a week ago. My brother had some issues where he ended up passing out. And so I was like telling him like, hey, go to the doctor, what's up, whatever. And so he finally ended up telling me the other day, he said exactly what you said. He said the doctor told him that, hey, he was like, your gut is like your second brain. He was like, it controls a lot of things, and he's seen that his something was off balance, something like that, and so he wanted him to start taking probiotics. And he said since he's been taking the probiotics, he said he feel 100% better.
You know,
And
mhm. Yeah,
go ahead.
and that's a very good point you made there because for a variety of reasons, like lots of sugar, lots of processed foods can mess up your gut. So probiotics, which will give you the good bacteria, which you need. A lot of people when they think of bacteria, they only think of the bad bacteria, which obviously you want as little of that as possible. But there's also millions and millions of what you would call good bacteria, and processed foods can mess it up. Too much sugar. Also, antibiotics. People don't realize if you take a lot of antibiotics do not just kill the bad bacteria, but they also kill the good bacteria. Because look at what the breakdown of antibiotic. Anti means against, bio means life. It's actually against life. So yeah, you'll get relief, but you'll kill the good bacteria in addition to the bad bacteria. So in the old days, when they used to give you antibiotics, they used to give you a probiotic called acetophilus, which for some reason they don't do that anymore. So if you ever have to take a antibiotic, I would say in general try to avoid it. But if you have to take it, make sure you take a probiotic with it to offset the fact it's going to kill your good bacteria. Because if you lose a good bacteria, it can lead to a whole bunch of health issues, as your brother found out from his doctor. Yeah, probiotics I definitely recommend to people. You always want your good health to be as good as possible because it affects so much of your health.
Right. So what if somebody, like, okay, we're gonna use myself for example, right? So what if, let's just say, hey, I wanna start being, more healthy or whatever. Let's say, hey, you know what? I ain't been having no any stomach issues, but I want to make sure my good bacteria and my good health. Would it be okay for me to just start taking, a probiotic, or is it kind of like a vitamin almost?
Yeah, but the probiotics will just give you these good bacteria. So yeah, I would definitely, I definitely recommend taking it out because you just don't know how good or not so good your gut health is. A lot of people may not be aware of it, but even if it's overall pretty good, you want to make sure it stays in good health. So yeah, I definitely recommend take a good probiotic, just in case because you're also in this society, you're dealing with a lot of processed foods, a lot of foods with fructose and sugar and cereals, and those things can take a toll on your guts. I think probiotics is one good thing to take to help deal with it. So at your age, I would definitely recommend taking a good probiotic. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So what are some holistic modalities you recommend for pain management or chronic conditions?
Okay. A lot of chronic conditions really, uh, again, a lot of it comes back to the gut
Mhm.
and the small intestine. Because again, when like for example, you get less stomach acid, all kinds of things to get through. Because number one, in the small intestine, that's where you don't want things going through. And they usually go through the large intestine, but when your whole gut health is out of whack, bacteria stuff like that can go through holes in the small intestine. That's called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and that can just open you up to a whole bunch of illnesses. And a good chunk of this country's population has it. Um, I would say probably 60 to 80%, maybe more, probably have some sort of gut issue, leaky gut, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or also called SIBO. So you really want to take care of the gut health. So that's why the probiotics are good. Limit the processed foods, eat good quality food. Make sure you have enough stomach acid because it's going to process all the nutrients and all the foods and it'll help strengthen that barrier. And actually, the other thing is, you also want to make sure you have enough salt. Salt is also very important for your cell health as well, and it also is important for your stomach acid. Salt's been a little way too vilified. It is actually very important, so you do need to have salt as well. But yeah, I would say that's the primary thing that help you avoid a lot of chronic conditions. And I would just definitely say limit limit the sugars, especially the fructose. Limit the processed foods because that leads to a whole bunch of chronic conditions. So and that leads to a lot of the pains people feel, the arthritis pains. A lot of that's inflammation. So, like as you get older, I would definitely say recommend collagen supplements. EFAs, essential fatty acids, that also those are also anti-inflammatories that can also help deal with pain. Turmeric is good. Cinnamon is good. So there are a lot of natural things you could take. I would just say, like, the thing is with painkillers, like all the different ones, like the Tylenols, ibuprofen, all that stuff. What they do is they mask the pain, but they don't address the symptoms. So they don't they only mask the symptoms, but the underlying issue is still there, and that's the problem with a lot of pharmaceutical drugs. They only suppress the symptoms, but they really don't take care of the underlying problem. So that's what, and unfortunately, a lot of them do have bad sides. Some of these painkillers, they can affect long term your liver health, or some of them can also affect your kidney health, and those are two of the more important organs in your body. And that's also that high blood pressure also affects your kidney health. And people don't realize probably the major cause of high blood pressure is, again, the fructose, the ketones, all those things really affect the blood pressure. And that's why it's important also to supplement. Like magnesium is really good for keeping your blood pressure in check. So a lot of people deficient in magnesium, they're deficient in calcium, which is important for your bone health. For example, I mentioned the EFAs that will also help with your blood pressure. It will also help probably thin your blood a little bit. And it's also a great anti-inflammatory. It's good for brain health. It's good for so it's good for a whole bunch of things here. And a lot of people I probably don't get. It's also great for skin health. People who have like a bad skin or dry skin. Guess what? When they take the EFAs, essential fatty acids, guess what? Their skin health improves. So,
Hmm.
um, vitamin D, for example, is really good for your immune system. And one of the reasons people get sick during the winter is because they don't get enough vitamin D. Why do you get vitamin D primarily? You go out in the sun. But that's your main source of vitamin. You can also supplement. It's not in a lot of foods. But during the winter, guess what? You're not in the sun that much. And even when you go outside, guess what? You're mostly covered. Maybe only your face will feel the sun. The rest of your body's covered. During the spring and the summer, guess what? You probably have a short sleeve shirt. During the summer, you're probably in shorts. So your sun is hitting your skin all over. So that's why one of the reasons why people don't get sick is vitamin D is extremely important for your immune system. Vitamin C, very important for your heart health. It's actually important for your bones. It works to help build collagen, which collagen and calcium are the two things that are required to build your bone health. And vitamin C is important for collagen. So yeah, vitamin C helps with a whole bunch of things as well, and it's great. It's antiviral. It's an antioxidant. So it's antibacterial, so it helps. It's also great for your immune system as well. So, and there's a whole bunch of other vitamins and minerals. And if your body has enough of them, either through diet or through supplementing, it can really help boost your health. So a big reason for a lot of these chronic conditions and pains is because people are not only are they eating bad quality foods, but they're deficient in a bunch of vitamins and minerals.
Mm. So, so if someone was like, hey, I really want to get I really want to get my health together, and they let's just say they're working on their diet, they're working on getting their diet better, but they decide, hey, you know what, I'm gonna take, we're just gonna say something random like a one a day multivitamin, um, since we talked about it, a probiotic, EFA, and something else. Would you recommend that? Like, or would that be something that's like, or would you recommend like getting up maybe like evaluation or something first to see exactly what they need, or how would you go about that?
Yeah, I would recommend always the evaluation because a lot of times it could be more things that could be an issue than you are aware of. So sometimes people are aware of something, but a lot of times it's more than what they realize. So that's why I like those four areas I mentioned: the hard tissue, the soft tissue, the digestion, and the blood sugar. Some people may have blood sugar issues and not even aware of it, or they may have digestion issues and not aware of it. So, or they could have hard tissue issues. So that's why it's important to go over it. Then because I was like, okay, so maybe they think it's blood is sugar, then we can like recommend products for blood sugar, but they may have a digestion issue as well. So it's like I could recommend this, take this for your digestive problems. So that's why it's important to go over it because you want those four areas to be functionally as optimally as possible. So that's why it's important to do that because our 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 health evaluation is very accurate because sometimes when I'm talking to a person on the phone, I can get a sense of where they are, but I still like to confirm it with the health evaluation, and very often the health evaluation confirms what I suspect. Uh, but I also want them to fill out so they see it for themselves as well. They say, okay, see, This is what the promise. It's digestion, or it's blood sugar, or it's your soft tissue. So I also like it for them to see, because a lot of times people overestimate or underestimate what their issues are. It's when you can see it concretely on the form, you're like, okay, this is what I need to work on.
Okay. So for them to get the evaluation is something they go to, like maybe like your website or something to complete.
Yeah, it's they can just go to yourfreehealthevaluation.com, fill it out, and then once they fill it out, they'll get their answers back to them, and they'll get the results. And if they want, they can set up a free consultation. We can go over it, and then they can decide if they want to work with me or not. But at the very least, they get that the free results, so they know where their health stands and what they need to do to improve.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Um, so before we get up out of here, one of the other things that I wanted to touch on to kind of complete the cycle is, what if someone, has been, let's say they've been eating bad, a lot of fast food for, let's just say, majority of their life. We're gonna just say that. How can they go about detoxing and cleansing their body, so that way they can start, they can get their body cleansed out, and then they can start, be prepared to start filling their body with the right minerals and vitamins and things that they need going forward.
Well, they could just start today. You got to start changing your diet. The number one thing is diet. And again, supplementation is also very important. They work together. So you can't out supplement a bad diet. I'm big on supplementation, but if you supplement, but you have a bad diet, you're going to have issues. If you have a good diet, but you don't supplement, you're also going to have issues because you're going to be vitamin and mineral deficient. So they both work together. You have to eat good quality foods, you have to supplement, and you need to exercise, and they all work together. And you have to get your mental health going well, and you work on your gut health. So you can start working on that today. So number one, I would say start changing your diet, because that's something you have control over. Now, uh, millions and millions of people, and I can tell you, have issues with giving up carbs and sweets, and I can tell you, I got a sweet tooth too. But I've been able to work on it. I limit my carbs. Like I love Italian pastries. I go to these Italian desserts. I could eat those all day, but I don't go them. It doesn't mean I never do. But instead of going like a couple times a month, I might go 3 times a year, 4 times a year. I limit it. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy some of these foods. I'll still eat some pizza. I just don't eat pizza as often as I used to, because
Mhm.
pizza has a lot of carbs, and too many carbs is bad. I'll still occasionally eat ice cream, but I'm going to eat ice cream all the time. Doesn't mean you can't eat some of these foods. I mean, there's some people that are very strict; they don't want to eat any of this thing at all. But I will occasionally eat these things. I just eat it a lot less. So I would say limit the sugars, particularly fructose. Get 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 rid of the sodas, both the regular sodas and the diet sodas, because they increase insulin resistance. And a study came a few weeks ago. They also can a cause of arrhythmia for your heart. So it causes heart issues as well. So you definitely want to limit those. Also, fruit juices are very bad. People think it's fruit juices. No, because fruit juice that has no fiber and it's all sugar. If you drink apple juice or orange juice, it's almost like eating. It's almost like drinking soda, except you might get a few vitamins and minerals, but you're getting a ton of sugar. So I would say don't drink the fruit juices. Um, Fruits like apples and pears, they do have fructose in it, but they also have fiber, which will help offset some of the fructose. So you can have some fruits. I would say eat more vegetables, because vegetables don't have the fructose that some of the fruits do. So,
Mhm.
but you can have some fruits. I would say moderate fruits, but I would say eat more vegetables. Again, limit the sugars, limit the fructose, limit the wheat, limit the seed oils, the vegetable oils, and and try to eat. Again, meats are fine. Eggs are great. I told you it's one of the most nutritious, because
Mhm.
again, meats and proteins will make you feel fuller, and you won't eat as much. But even if you do eat a little bit more, they don't make you put on more weight. It's the carbs, especially the sugars, the fructose, the processed foods, the ultra processed foods, and the sales. Those are the things that are going to make you put on weight, and they're going to cause a whole bunch of health issues. And
Mhm.
again, the fructose is going to do real damage to your liver, and the liver is the main organ that detoxifies everything.
Right.
So you do not want a liver transplant. And again, the sugars, the fruit, and the carbs, they can take a toll on your kidneys. And when your kid and that's actually what probably the main reason for the high blood pressure is really probably the sugars. People are not aware of that. Again, the triglycerides and again, it's the triglycerides you have to worry about, not the cholesterol. So if you limit the processed foods, um, again, you don't have to do it all at once. I know if you try to do everything at once, you might get overwhelmed and you might just give up. So maybe you want to start off slowly. Say, today I'll focus on limiting my wheat. So instead of having 3 pieces of wheat, I'll start with 2 pieces of wheat and then gradually go down to 1 piece of wheat. So you could do that with the sugars too. So I don't know. Let's just say if you have like 4 teaspoons of sugar with your coffee every day, maybe you cut it down to 3 and then it's 2. You could do it gradually and you'll see the results. I know if you try to do cold turkey, it could be overwhelming for some people. So you may want to try doing gradually. But if you just start taking small portions of the processed foods, the junk foods, over time you're going to start seeing results. And be patient with yourself. It took you all this time to put on this weight. If don't expect to lose 50 pounds in a week. It's going to take a few months. So and if you lose 1 pound a week, that's fine.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, slow progress is better than no progress, So,
Hmm.
um, so one last thing I just thought about while we were doing it before we get up out of here. So what do you suggest as far as water? Because a lot of people, they'll have like this super huge jug of water and say, "Oh, by 8 o'clock I need to drink this much. By 10 o'clock I need to drink this much." Like, how does water factor into all this?
No, water is extremely important because your body is like 65 to 70% water. So I wouldn't say chug it all at once, but I would say number one, you do get dehydrated when you sleep. So I would say first thing in the morning, probably drink like 8 ounces of water when you get up. But I would say drink it steadily throughout the day. Don't drink like a half gallon in like the first hour of the day because if you drink too much at once, it could be a little too much for your kidneys. So I would say gradually start the day, like 10 ounces like every hour throughout the day. But definitely get plenty of water. But I would just say on a consistent basis, like every hour, hour and a half, drink 10 to 12 ounces of water. So I think it's better this way your body's getting the steady amount of water throughout the day. Because there can be health issues when you're dehydrated. And some of the pain people sometimes feel is because your body's crying out for water. So that's also a cause of certain pains people realize. And when they actually drink more water, um, the pains go away. And here's the other thing: the thing the thing that that thing that makes you feel hungry is like if you actually sometimes if you just drink water, you won't feel as hungry. So it's actually a lot of times when you drink water, you won't feel as hungry because the thing that's yearning for something, it can be satisfied by water. So sometimes if you drink water, you won't. If you worry about eating too much, sometimes if you drink more water, you won't feel as hungry. You won't eat as much.
Hmm, that's interesting. Hmm, I didn't know that. Well, I tell you what, Victor, you taught me a lot today. I'm pretty sure the viewers will definitely get a lot out of this, and hopefully, they start taking their health serious. Hopefully, they get in touch with you and do the free evaluation, and then get you to help them change their life. In that 90 days, starting out, and even beyond that as well. But I definitely want to appreciate you. I definitely want to thank you for taking your time out because I know you're a busy man. Take your time out to come get on the podcast and talk about the importance of holistic health.
Oh, my pleasure, Alex, and thank you for having me on the show. I had a great time. It was a real pleasure being on.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. And maybe next time we get you on, I can answer the rest of the questions because I had a lot of questions, but I ain't. This would have lasted probably 4 hours if I'd have got through all those questions. So.
Sounds great.
Yeah, yes, sir. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Y'all just watched another episode of All in All with Alex with my guy Victor. Peace.